terms of functionality and popularity. Now, how foreign markets play into this issue is that much of the work done by previous Americans can now be done in foreign countries, where the employees in those countries will actually charge much less for their work to the companies hiring them. And although there is a decrease in the manufacturing sector, let's discuss further about the service-based market. According to the Institute for Supply Management, they report that around 83% of workers within the private sector work in the service industry. Now, how this pertains to the issue of gang members is because when you have a labor market that is primarily obtained through a good education, this causes a massive issue for those within lower socioeconomic areas that don't have the same access to good education. With the manufacturing sector decreasing, this means less accessible jobs, and with less accessible jobs, that causes more room for gang members to turn to that lifestyle. This massive economic shift leads us into our next point of why gang members join gangs, which is the economic shift leading us into the creation of an underclass. This term refers to neighborhood residents who live in extreme poverty, where the poverty rate exceeds 40%. These conditions and or struggles associated with the underclass include poor education, generational poverty, and dependence on the welfare system. In conjunction, much of what we've discussed earlier with the shift in a service-based economy has also played a factor in this issue. Beside the issue of jobs being taken away in areas where the residents are mostly skilled in manufacturing, other issues arise as well. When industries move out of an area, not only does this take away jobs, but also takes away with them tax revenue that was being used to fund the area. Not only that, but those who can afford to leave the area may also do so in order to look for different opportunities. Like any person, the influence of the environment around you will play a heavy factor in the person you become, which is especially true for adolescents. And when you take an adolescent who grows up in an area ridden with poverty and lack of job opportunity, it's no surprise they may turn to gangs as a way of income, and as well as maybe even protection from the brutal reality that surrounds them. The next factor that plays into the ongoing social issue of gangs are the continuous rise of single-parent households. To demonstrate this trend, according to the Pew Research Center, between 1980 and 2008, the rate of births to unmarried women in the United States went from 18% all the way up to 41%. Within the same year, the amount of births that were non-marital were highest for African American women. Within poor urban city areas, the majority of African American children are raised by a single mother, which causes a list of complications. The first being that being raised with only one source of income in an area already economically struggling is a massive challenge. In order to make up for the lack of two separate incomes, many single mothers have to work long hours to make up the income. In doing so, This leaves children mostly unattended, and when a child is left unattended for an extended period of time in an area already riddled with gang activity, especially among potential peers, it's no surprise they now may also fall into the gang, especially as a means of community and as a means of a potential male figure to idolize, as they may not have one in the home, and potentially having even noble intentions of joining a gang to make income to help their struggling mothers. Now, we've mentioned education quite a bit throughout the video, but I'd like to expand a bit more on the topic. Education is arguably seen as one of the best ways to increase your social mobility. Social mobility refers to a person or group changing their status within the social hierarchy around us over a period of time. There are two types of social mobility. The first type being intragenerational mobility. Intragenerational mobility refers to status change within a single generation. The second being intergenerational mobility, which refers to status change throughout generations. It can also be shown through these tables here that the higher education one receives on average, the higher income they make as well as having higher rates of employment on average. Some social researchers have identified 3 key traits that help predict if a student will turn to gangs. Those traits being their grades, reports of antisocial behavior, and how they interact with peers. Some social researchers were able to identify through a study of 714 adolescents and their families a correlation, and that correlation being the lower a GPA, the higher chance of gang involvement. Adolescents who also felt more socially ostracized or disconnected from peers also had a higher chance of joining a gang, likely due to finding connection with other outcasts. Another problem that has arisen to schools is the actual potential gang involvement on school grounds. These issues can be seen by the fact that school gives the potential meeting ground for new gangs to form, or for pre-existing gangs to use schools as recruitment, which really goes to show how bad the education situation is within areas that are already at risk for gang involvement based on the previous mentioned factors. Drugs and alcohol also may contribute to gang behavior. Most teenagers within modern culture will try alcohol, and some may also try more harder and illegal drugs. This creates various different issues. For one, the usage of these illicit drugs can lead a teenager down a path of potential delinquency, thus leading down a higher chance of joining a gang. And two, this creates a market heavily utilized by gangs, as they use selling drugs as a huge source of income, and they are willing to go to great lengths to defend their turf my observation of this point and personal experience, I feel as though the kicks and thrills of delinquents can come differently based on your socio-economic environment. For example, one that lives in a higher economic area will likely not experience high levels of crime. Because of that, to them, having that experience of underage drinking and or skipping class may satisfy that kick and thrill. Being subjected to something a little devious can have an effect when you're surrounded by safety. However, this same kick and thrill effect may be different to achieve for many in lower socioeconomic areas. These areas are often riddled with crime and danger, so when danger is oftentimes the norm as safety would be for upper middle class adolescents, I don't think it's a stretch to believe that adolescents within these lower socioeconomic areas have a higher chance of needing to do more dangerous activities in order to fill the sensation of kicks and thrills. Now, as previously mentioned, the source of information for this video comes from a book which is called American Street Gangs, the second edition, by Tim Delaney. I'd like to give credit for the material used for this video, as well as explain that since there is only one source of information used for this video, the information may be limited